pastels, but water-soluble pastels. So you do your pastel drawings on paper, and then you get a wet brush, and you blend, and you do these wonderful things. You soften edges and everything. So they're going to demonstrate this new product. So that's what's happening. What else? So anyway, I'm so happy to have met Zhong. He got here earlier today to set up, and we're going to be streaming worldwide around 7 o'clock so that some 20,000 followers, if they choose to watch this video, they know at 7 o'clock to come and watch it. So that's really exciting. Yeah. And he got here earlier today, and he went downstairs to just kind of get to know the place and to kind of warm up for tonight. And he did this tonight, this afternoon. So I neglected to invite him to bring some of his artworks here, and so my apologies for that. But, you know, websites are there for a reason. So anyway, thank you so much. He's traditionally trained in an art school. Then he went to Disney for how many years? 14
years.
14 years. And so he's jumped from digital to more traditional, but he's still doing digital art. So we are just so thrilled to have you, and thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So you may press play.
Okay, I think we all know.
Yeah, maybe you just say hello.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time too, so I don't know what I'm doing. So, but I guess whoever's watching.
Show your face.
How about that, huh? Yes, Joanne.
You forgot to mention that you were featured in the March issue of Plein Air magazine.
Oh, that's right.
That's a big deal.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I almost forgot about it. It's been so long. Did the interview, but so just to be clear, I don't know what I'm doing. This may not go the way I want it. Just like I said, like a teenager, right? They may not listen, right? So I don't want you to, just want to make sure that I just run out there, right? Anyway, so let's get started. I'm going to start out with another sketch too. So this is for real now, for real. So again, 3 value. I'm looking at. This is something that I look for all the time. The important part is, where is my horizon line? So again, when I took the photo, I wasn't thinking about how I don't like this thing to be straight, like right across the middle. So I actually I always like to put it slightly, make it like a third. You see, like instead of just right in the middle. So I decided to push the horizon up a little bit. And then, you see how the distant mountain is just there? That will be my middle tone. And then I have, again, this is the shape that I'm looking at. This is my dark shape. And then, I don't follow exactly what's there, but this will give me an idea of my darks and lights. Again, because these guys are going to be right there, and I want to bring this to my eyes around there. So this is, again, it's very similar, right? It doesn't take too long. This will establish the look of my painting. And darken this, so I have my dark, this is my dark, and my medium, and then of course this part is my light. So it's very similar to what I have here. You guys are far enough, you should be able to kind of tell, like this is, it's no mistake, like it's kind of close, right? Yes?
I have a question. From here I can't see the object clearly. Is it just a group of trees and then reflection? Is that what we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so now I have this as my map. I am going to start the real thing. So again, like I said, I, 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 I don't do a lot of drawing. but I will give myself a kind of a just where the location of my shape. So again, I have this shape as the mountains. Of course, I try to. I don't do exactly. I'm not copying this thing, right? I'm trying to get the feeling of this thing. I'm trying to get the sunlight, right? Get the reflection, the water, and the feel of that cold water, right? Like that's. I'm still thinking about that, right? And I have to keep this idea in my head the whole time, because like if the sun can come and then the wind it covers it changes the whole thing, but I cannot do that. I need to, if that is my first intent, I need to keep this the whole time I'm painting. And like the sunlight, the cool water, like this is in my head, the feeling. And I always tell my friend, I said, you have got to feel it, you know? And that's what I'm trying to do. And so again, I'm still working out the shapes and try to keep it very simple keep the big shapes there. Make sure the people that I'm So as you can see, the trees are not. I'm not trying to copy what's there. I'm just trying to be very deliberate. I don't try to copy what's there. I'm trying to get the feeling of that.
So, Paul?
Yep.
Can you move the table back? Because we see your back, but we don't see what you're doing.
I think if you're more in front of the table, I don't know how.
I think it depends on what I'm doing.
I do too.
It's the angle of the mirror.
It's where he stands,
Yeah.
not where the mirror is.
Yeah.
To the other side.
Can you guys in the back see?
We can't, all we see is his back and the back of the stand.
Changing the mirror's not gonna
Okay.
help them.
So the table needs to go back.
Or if you
No,
have
if you
more
go
to the side.
this side of the room, you'll be fine, you can see.
I mean, it's physics, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. Is that better?
You can see it now?
Yeah.
So,
Is that better?
Here we can, but back there probably not. So,
What it means to
Does that
do,
help?
you need to move that table back and then even further back.
the only thing that helps is him lowering his head.
Okay. How about that, huh? Okay.
And also, there are wine and cheese in the back, so please help yourself. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. Go get some food. Get some things to drink. Go for a walk.
John,
Yes.
I promise, the only time I'm gonna interrupt. I have this live right now, and people are asking questions. Do you want me to forward questions if they're really pertinent to the feed?
Is that working?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
I have no idea.
Okay, the question is, if somebody asks a question that I think would be helpful, do you want me to say
Oh, yeah,
that for you?
yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted. Okay.
Thanks. All right. So again, I'm still. This is as. Whoa! What happened here? Come on. All right. So these are my. This is my photo reference. This is my. Did you guys see that? There's an ant over here. Did you see that?
I smell the honey.
No kidding.
Needs regulation, you got hands.
So I am ready to start painting. Since I have an hour, right? Like I even brought my hair dryer just so that I can speed things up a little because time is of the essence. But I don't want you guys to wait too long, so I'm just trying to get going. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the palette. These I went to a Japanese place and they have. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome because it allows, because the difference between these plastic palette and these are ceramic is when you mix color, these don't like it's just amazing that how. Oh, actually, I've been using this for quite some time, but this it's really nice. It just lays out. It doesn't go back into the clumps up, and this is really cool. So I've been using that quite a bit. So let's get going. I usually spray a little bit so it kind of wets, makes the paper absorption a lot easier. And I am going to mix my color. If you can see that the sky gets starts from blue, and then it kind of changes to a kind of a yellowy, warmer, and then as it comes down, it turns yellow because I'm doing a wash, and I start out with the light color first. Remember 3 values. So this is my light. So I'm going to do the whole thing in one wash, and then I'm going to dry it, and then. So I'm mixing white as well. I think I'll talk a little bit. And I like to use these bigger areas so I can mix a lot of a bigger puddle of color. So I have 2 different puddle of paint, and so now I'm going to switch to a different brush, has a different color.
I didn't get here at 6:30, Yang. Are those the magic Chinese calligraphy brushes?
Oh, you missed out. Yes, this is the magic brush.
Why is it the magic brush?
Because it's a Chinese calligraphy brush. It's like a Dumbo's that little feather. It makes him think he can fly, right?
A little bit of Disney.
Did you mention what colors you're using?
I am mixing with white, cat yellow, cat orange, and what else? Ultramarine. So I have this is my base wash. So usually I would just have to sit around and wait. But since I have a time limit, I'm gonna use my hair dryer and dry this. And to make it easier, I kind of make it even faster, so that way you guys don't sit around and wait. Again, so this is my base wash. I mean, once I have this thing down, I want to make sure that it has a kind of an harmony in which I have the whole thing. It's very light, and once the watercolor dries, it gets very light. I did. I have to use a little bit of white mixed into it. What was that?
Opaque white? Is that an opaque white?
Chinese white. No kidding. It's Chinese white. Maybe that's the reason why I like it, you know? All right. Let's do white.
So when you're out in the field, do you just wait because you don't have a hair dryer?
I start 2 paintings, or 2 or 3. I would do one over here, and one over there. I think some of our friends seen that. And when I'm in the car, I would blast the heater, and I would dry it. So, any more questions?
We want to know all your secrets.
Like I said, there is no Chinese secret. Sorry. So now it's still not. So I want to make sure that the first layer is absolutely dry because there's something like if it's not dry entirely and you put another paint, unless you intentionally doing a wet on wet, I feel like it's affecting. I don't want any of that. I want the first wash to be like very clean and has kind of a base. So I don't. I'm kind of desperate. Right? I thought I'd hurry up, dry it. All right, so now this is almost dry. If you look at the photo, there is a lot of subtlety. So even within the light color, there is this. This is not the same as this. So this actually gets darker, and then it's warmer, and as it goes further up, it gets cooler. It gets cooler. So I'm gonna start bringing those in right now, and then because I always work from light to dark. So with my paint still there, I don't want to waste paint, right? So I'm gonna use that, right? And I just have to make it more intense. And sometimes when I'm painting, like some people are like, "What color is that?" I don't know. I don't like. You just have to kind of like, does that look right? So it's there's no always like a answer for like I don't know. Like I can mix it for you, but.
You have 42 people watching you online right now.
More pressure.
Do
you stick to any rules about how many colors you'll mix together at once, or do you just keep going until?
I just keep going until like, and sometimes I told my wife I'm not multitasking. The truth is I can't. Like if you do, but sometimes you just have you and then when you're painting too, like there's so much to going through your mind. Like okay, don't get caught in the details. Don't get caught in the details. Think about big shade, and then you always look for. And then sometimes the timing too, like you gotta make sure it's before it dries. You gotta if you have to scrape, you have to do whatever. Go do it while it's wet. Once it's dry, you're done. So yes, I guess whatever works.
Did you use the magic brush on your edge of your sand?
The edge of this?
You haven't used that yet?
Not yet. Usually I start with a bigger brush. That's even bigger work that I use that. So I noticed that that patch of sand that So I instead of mixing it, I just decided to, and like you have to really like try to. This is the part of you like you try to get it, like one stroke.
Yong, somebody is asking, how do you handle color in a photo or on location when you don't know what color it is, but more gray?
Judge by the values. Don't worry about color. Color is, if you cannot tell the color, chances are it's very similar to value. So get the values correct, the rest will be okay. So now I know this background, the color, it's dry. I'm going to use a lighter value to bring in that. Oh, this is a Western brush paint. This is kind of in between. This is like a round, what they call a cat tone, whatever you call that. That's something similar to what I can get with my magic Chinese brush.
Is it synthetic or natural?
This is natural hair.
Do you use synthetic brushes?
Yep. So my light values are almost there, and I need to, so this I'm going to get into my middle tone right now. All that, this area, all that, those are light, but then they're much, much darker. Again, if you squint, I mean, that is what I'm looking at. Like, I just have to bring out the light and the dark in these two areas. So I'm going to try my... Play safe, stuck with my magic brush.
Brenda says hi.
Hello, Brenda.
Boylan?
Yes. Who else?
So, So I mixed these three. So this, all three will, if you squint your eyes, they're kind of in the similar value range. So here, this has more of a yellow, and this one has more of a a green, and then there's a little bit of a red, and then darker green up there. So I am going to try to do just that.
Somebody named Dim Sum Alex says Daiko. Does that make sense?
You know what?
Not a
Because
clue.
I can't multitask.
All right, I'll stop.
I feel like I'm still not out of the wood yet, you know? I'm like, this can go anyway, and who knows, right? It's like, gotta focus. So, this is my, kind of at my mid-tone, and I'm gonna put the dark tone next. So, as you can see, like, I'm still using that same puddle, right? But because this is I'm gonna go, because this is the dark tone is gonna be much darker, so I'm gonna use some darker tones.
You think a lot of your stroke movement comes from the calligraphy?
Yes, very much. I didn't think about it like at the time. I'm like, oh. And then somebody goes, I think your painting has a little bit of a Chinese feel to it. I'm like, oh, let me look into it. And oh yeah, I think so. And like I said, I'm mixing these colors. I'm like, oh, does it look like it? I think it's the feel. It's like, if you ask what color is that? I don't know. It is what it is. You saw it, right?
It's the one that works.
It's the one that works. And because the different opacities, some of the paint a little bit more opaque, and you just have to take that into consideration as well. So by now, I think these are close to dry, and I want that to be. I don't want this to be completely dry, and I want that little bit of the wet into.
Benita Pappas online just said, "Hi, Yong.
Hello.
This is better than Netflix.
Thank you.
Way better than Netflix."
So you have a combination of warm and cool in your darks, Young.
Yep. And these tiny shapes are very important because it will show me all that the size comparison. I like to keep that.
Someone just wrote in Arabic that he thinks you're great.
Oh, thank you, thank you. That's very encouraging.
You rock, Young.
Thank you. I don't know. I'm not out of the wood yet. So there's a lot of subtleties in there that in that. So I'm not gonna try to use a brush to to get it. I'm going to use a palette knife to scrape out some of the details, but I'm not going to go and render every details. And I know that at a point where it's kind of dry, where I can just go in there and use my palette knife to give it some details.
So did you go over a dry area with the palette, or was it still wet?
It's still wet. It's
Semi.
not dry 100%.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. That's very encouraging. All right, so I feel like my focal point is still kind of here, so I'm going to add the figures in later. But I want to give, because I feel like this area needs a little bit more detail. Like it's not enough to convince me. There's a lot going on over here. I feel like it needs something. So and while it's dry, then I could just go and add some detail to it.
Somebody just said you make it look so effortless.
You have no idea. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So this is the part where I could use that brush to Chinese. I just instead of doing like one, like I just do one, and then it's somewhat taken care of.
When you're working alone outside, is it as intense as it is when you're working in front of a camera?
Sometimes. If you're in a competition, like you really need to focus. That's like you don't care. You just need to get it done. But this is, you guys are so lively, you know. No, not at all. No, I guess it's just a little bit of getting used to it. I signed up for something that I wasn't ready for at the time when I was participating in these planet events, and I realized, oh, there's people looking at me painting, and I have to talk them into it. So I kind of slowly getting used to it. It's not something that I. It's just, hey, you know, I love to share my technique, right? My Chinese secrets, you know. I guess no, it's okay. I enjoy this. You know, if you guys can learn something from this, and it makes me happy. You know. All right, come on, John. This is not messy. In my studio, there's like brushes everywhere. There's like paper everywhere. By the time I'm done, I'm like, ooh, I'll clean up tomorrow. And sometimes I just leave my brushes in there, like, oh, it's like, good thing I'm not painting in acrylic. Again, these are, see, you notice I'm using mostly the magic brush. So I just like the quality of being very flexible to have both the chisel edge and the straight edge. So I mean the pointy edge. So it just kind of helps me. May I ask how much time do I have?
It's a 7:45.
Okay.
How much time do you want?
Well, I could go on forever, right? I don't want it to be too dry and then like.
Are you able to talk about the dry levels of dryness on the paper?
Yes. So if it's too dry, it won't pick up anything. If it's not dry enough, I mean, it just goes right back. So it's very different. So it's very difficult to find. You have to kind of find the.
Is it just sort of after it loses its sheen a little bit?
I would say about 80% dry.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of do it once, you know. If you miss, then sorry. And just the idea is not overdoing it and kind of good luck. So now I could. Any questions? Yep.
Do you prefer watercolor to acrylic and oil?
I do all three, but I like watercolor because it's easy to clean up. It's acrylic is great, but as you can see, I don't clean my brushes, so that's actually one of the major thing I don't get away from it. It's because I don't clean. I ruin my brushes. So and also when it dries, it has a plastic look that I'm just not crazy about. And so I like wash, but I just so I end up just using watercolor because it's easy to carry, and when you go to CUS or whatever TSA, you don't say, I can take my paint with me, you know. Yes.
I was curious as why you used white.
Oh, I talked about this earlier. Okay, if you have two, if you have a wash down, and if you use water, just water, and the water will actually push the paint away. But if you mix white into it, it actually the paint infused into the wash. So I talk about this, my reason for using white, and of course sometimes you use to cheat or cover some of it if you don't want to scrape it out. So yeah, that's about the only explanation I give you. And then when you make some of the paint color that you get from using white compared to just diluted with water, and it is just that powdery paint that you just can't get. Like when you paint like cherry blossom, it's like, wow, you need that. So that's me. That's I.
Is that the same then as using wash versus watercolors?
I actually use.
To it, or?
There's no. I mean, I use Chinese white, but it's the same thing. Like as long as if it's thick enough, you can cover it. Like some of the area, like, oh my God, I made a mistake, and you could go, hey, it's a opaque watercolor. I cover it with white, or you can scrape it out and work with it. So there's no a set rule for me to use that. I just whatever works, you know. Okay.
It reminds me a little bit of the paints that they use when they do Chinese brush painting, right?
Yes.
It always has a little bit of opacity to it.
Yep.
But it's not as heavy as a lot of gouaches would be.
Yes. And gouache can be very heavy. You could layer it, that thing, like complete opacity. But you could, I just kind of go with in between. I use the same way I use acrylic too. If I'm using acrylic, I make sure I use all my crappy brush, and I don't use my good brushes. So. So I look for a little bit more detail just over here to add a little bit of interest.
You're getting a lot of hearts.
Thank you for the update, Thomas. so that blue earlier was contaminated by a dirty brush, and I want this color to be so exact that I'd rather just not take the chance. So I.
Water just got colder.
Can you just picture yourself dip your feet in there when it's so hot? That's. I'm sure you have done that. Take off your shoes and dump the. Oh. Do we have enough time, or are we all done, or?
You got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Can he go over?
The question is, does he keep adding to it? Put it back?
Can he go over?
From whose perspective? No answer.
Can you on go long?
They all can.
A few minutes over.
Okay.
In a plein air competition, are you given a set amount of time?
No, I mean, as long as it's done. Well, some organizers they want to be 100% there, but some are like, oh, you can get away with 80% there. I don't know. I guess it depends on the organizer, but so far I hadn't had any problem.
He does like 10 paintings to R1.
And there is something called a quick draw, which is limited to 2 hours.
He
Oh,
usually
yeah.
does 3.
He does 3.
Do you like doing plein air in watercolor medium or acrylic or oil?
I started out doing oil, and then I realized, oh my God, just traveling to, you have to bring your own frame, and like, oh man, it was too much work, and I decided to switch to watercolor, and I think it's because of that. I just end up doing watercolor. It's because it's a lot easier to just bring your stuff, and like we have to bring our own frame, your supplies, and like, oh my God, it's like. But if you're driving, that's cool. But then if you're carrying all that to the airport, forget it.
And then they have pictures of him hopping through rocks and water and all of that, so he has to have his little watercolor bag
That's right.
to traverse the terrain.
So this is the part that takes the longest, like, but it's the difference between something good and something great. It's like, oh, but don't overdo it, don't underdo it. It's like the yin and the yang. You gotta kind of balance that. So now it's just what is the way to make this to direct my audience eyes, where do I want them to look at, in certain area that is not that important. How do I find a balance and not to overwork something and try to not enough? It's like, oh, certain area needs more work and so on and so forth. So now it's just kind of a slow go. It's like, oh, this is the part where like, oh, I can't. Some people just like, I just don't have the patience to do it. All right, toss the towel and just move on. And then sometimes you get away. You put it away and you come back.